Welcome back to another YouTube video. This is a recap of my half Ironman, my first half Ironman that I completed about 2 weeks ago. This was in La Quinta, which is by like Palm Springs. I'd never heard of it before, kind of just a random spot in like that desert section of Palm Springs, kind of near Coachella. Yeah, super fun weekend. I've been training, or I was training for this half Ironman for honestly like 6 months, which is kind of a long time. Like, I don't think I needed to train for 6 months for this event, but that's just what it was. I was doing it with three of my close friends, my roommates, and we were on a trip earlier in the summer, and then two of them were doing marathon prep at the time, and we were just by the ocean. One of them was like, "You think I could do an Ironman?" And then we were kind of like, "No, like, what are you talking about?" And then we started to talk about it more, and we honestly just came up with the idea within like 20 minutes of mentioning it, and then we were like, all right, we're gonna do an Ironman. We didn't really understand that you don't usually just jump into a full Ironman at start. So after doing a little bit more research, we were like, okay, start with the half, start with the 70.3, and then see where it takes us. And then yeah, we kind of all went our separate ways for summer. I was in Arizona over the summer, and so we just all started training on our own, really just figuring it out. And in terms of my plan, I never ended up getting a real plan. I was kind of just doing what like some online PDF said, and then ended up kind of tagging along with one of my roommates and what he was doing. So it was very flexible. But I would say the last 3 to 4 months of this training, the intensity definitely picked up. So it's kind of been a long time coming, I guess, half a year for 2 Sundays ago. So that was definitely a big day, a great accomplishment. I never really thought like I'd be the type of person to be in endurance. Until this point, I was just about sports. I played football and basketball and lifting. Like, lifting has always been my number one thing. So prioritizing running, swimming, biking was very irregular for me, but I enjoyed it so much, and I learned so much throughout this process just about the sport itself, but also like my capacity and how I could push myself in different realms, because that's really what it's all about. So not going to go too in depth over like the entire 6 month journey before the race, but in terms of the actual race day, we went down on Friday. The race was on Sunday, and on Thursday, that's when we started to dial in our nutrition. If you're familiar with carb loading, essentially you have glycogen stores in your liver and your muscles, and carbohydrates fill up those stores for energy. So in preparation for a big event like a half Ironman or a marathon, anything like that, you want to maximize your glycogen store capacity. And so for me, that came out to about 1,000 carbs a day for 3 days. And this was tricky. I can't lie. Like, I love to eat. I can eat a lot of food, but eating just straight carbs was a little like, my body was like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you eating Frosted Flakes and then eating rice and then eating like granola, more cereal, potatoes, like literally just straight carbs, no protein, minimal fat, maybe like 60 grams of fat." But yeah, I think that was an adjustment for me, but it needed to be done, and it paid off in the end. So yeah, started carb loading on Thursday, eating about 1,000 grams. Then Friday, we drove down from LA to our Airbnb in La Quinta. Took about, I don't know, 2.5, 3 hours, not too bad. It's really just desert. It looks so familiar to like Arizona, Nevada, whatever, or Vegas. Got to the Airbnb, and then on Friday we went to the Ironman Village, which is where I got this shirt and the backpack. You get your little wristband and then the tracker to put on your ankle. So you get most of your stuff there. You check in on Friday, and that's at the Ironman Village. It's cool. It's nothing crazy. Like, it's definitely small. I mean, for like bigger events, it's probably more extensive, but this was, there were some vendors, there were food trucks, all that sort of thing. So we got to see what the transition 2 zone would look like, because that's near the village, the Ironman Village, and that's where you go from bike to run. Got to see that. The parking situation was kind of crazy. They had us park in this massive dirt lot, which was about a mile out from the Ironman Village. And so you either had to walk from the parking lot to the village or take a shuttle, which was just a golf cart. We were like, when we first got there, we were like, bro, why are all these people being lazy? Like, they're just taking a shuttle. We didn't realize it was like a 35-minute walk. So we're walking and we're like, oh, I understand why, people are taking this shuttle. So that was definitely something that was interesting, which I'll also get into later because that was not the best way to end the race, having to walk back to the parking lot after 6 hours of exercise. So yeah, Friday was pretty much just eating carbs, checking in at the Ironman Village, getting our stuff. We went for a shakeout ride, which is just kind of like, getting back on the bike because the training load is decreased during that week. And we went for a swim earlier Friday morning, hopped on the bike for, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, really just to ride around, sort of see what the roads are like. Pretty views, like super pretty views, desert sunsets. It was awesome. That was a great ride. Got back to the Airbnb and started to go to bed a little bit earlier just to prepare ourselves for Saturday night because we knew that was going to be an early wake-up call. Come Saturday, this is when we actually had to, decontaminate our wetsuits, check in our stuff at the first transition because our swim was at a lake, which was about 20 minutes from T2. So you have the Ironman Village, where T2 happens, and then you have the lake, which is where the race starts, and that's T1. So we had to go to the lake, check our bikes in, decontaminate our wetsuits, put our transition 1 bags in the swim section, which has your gear for the bike. So once you get out of the water, so you put on your helmet, shoes, all that stuff, get on the bike, and get off. Wasn't too complicated. There's like kind of only one way in and one way out, and I expected there to be a lot more traffic, but it wasn't too bad. We were able to get our stuff dropped off. I think logistically there was just a little bit of driving around because we had like 3 locations, like our house, the Ironman Village, maybe 4, the parking lot, and then T1. So yeah, that was Saturday. Got our stuff registered. Yeah, and prior to that, we received the transition bags where you have like the stickers. So you put stickers on your bike, your helmet, and then you also get a bib that you have to put on your back when you're running. And that stuff was just all like allocated in the transition bags. And then there was one more bag that we didn't drop off, which was called the morning bag. And this is essentially what you take the morning of the race. You take this morning bag to the swim. So this has like your goggles, swim caps, any gels, anything that you'd need before the swim, you have in your morning bag. Bike pumps, that kind of stuff. That was Saturday. Again, very similar. I was trying to get some studying done because I had finals that week, and so it was kind of a time crunch. So I was trying to get studying done, trying to eat carbs, and also trying to lock in for this race, which was a lot at once, but I signed up for it. Saturday, we went to bed. We tried to go to bed really early. I think we took melatonin at 7 o'clock, 7:15, and I was in bed. I probably fell asleep at about, I don't know, like 8:45, 9. I was tired, but it was weird going to bed that early. I honestly didn't have like crazy nerves the night before. Obviously, I was thinking about it. I was concerned with making sure that logistically everything was set up. Like I wasn't forgetting any equipment. Everything was tagged. Everything was registered. My tracker was working. Like that's just how my mind works. Like I get caught up in the small stuff. I was confident that I'd be able to complete the race. It was more just about like, am I forgetting this small detail that's going to disqualify me or something like that. And earlier they told us you would get a slip that had a allocated time for you to get on the bus to go to the swim the morning of. And we never got that. So we were kind of like, are we missing a ticket to like start the race? So we were kind of tripping about that, but we figured if none of us had it, there are 4 of us, if none of us had it, it wasn't a mistake. They probably just didn't, use it. So went to bed at 8, probably fell asleep at 9. Morning of the race, I set my alarm for 3 a.m. because the buses leave from the parking lot to the swim between 4 and 5:45. But I knew there are almost 3,000 athletes getting into this parking lot. Let's not push it. Let's not wait until the last minute because there was traffic the day before just to check in all your stuff. So we wake up and we're deciding, okay, we're going to leave the crib at 4 o'clock, 4:15 latest a.m. So I'm like, okay, I need to wake up at 3 because, you got to wake up, shower, kind of like get yourself awake. Also have to eat, bring your water bottles, all that stuff. Make sure you're prepared. So I wanted to wake up earlier, which I ended up waking earlier, but we set our alarms for 3. Morning of, wake up in the middle of the night and I check my watch and it says 1:30. I'm like, okay, bet I have another hour and a half. So I go back to bed, but I literally just can't fall back asleep. And I think once it hit 2:15 a.m., I was like, all right, like I'm up, bro. Like what? Like fuck this. Like I'm just up. So I pretty much woke up at 1:30 for that race. And I was just laying in bed for 45 minutes, got up at 2:15, started to just check my stuff, hopped in the shower, and then all of us were up by like 3, and then we started to fuel. And we're so disorganized. Like, we weren't really that dialed in with the nutrition. We were eating a bunch of carbs, but we didn't have like a structured plan. Like, some people are like, I'm having, you know, 1 cup of rice at this hour, and then I'm having honey and bagel at this hour, and then boom, boom, boom. Like, it's super structured. We were literally asking ChatGPT the morning of, like, what to eat before a half Ironman. And then ChatGPT was saying one thing, the Ironman website was saying another thing. Because I killed a bagel with peanut butter and honey. I eat that. I'm like, bet, like, that's what you're supposed to have. My friend looks it up, and then ChatGPT's like, no peanut butter. Like, don't eat peanut butter. So I'm like, well, like, it is what it is. But I ended up slamming peanut butter with honey and bagel. Wait. Bagel with peanut butter and honey. Bagel with peanut butter and honey. I had like 2 Eggo waffles, a coffee. That was pretty much it. Most of your fueling is done beforehand. And yeah, I just wanted to keep the stomach like calm. So that's what I had. We head out at 4 o'clock, 4:15. We get to the parking lot, which is where the buses take us to T1. This is like, it's pitch black, 4 a.m. There are these super bright artificial lights in the parking lot, and you can see the dust. Like, there's a bunch of dust. There's so much dust. And it was a surreal experience. Like, it almost felt like I've never been deployed, but that's what I assume it'd feel like. Like, we're just pulling up. It's pitch black. It's cold. There are a bunch of people. Everybody got their bags. Everybody's pretty quiet. It was a surreal experience. And then we load onto a school bus with our morning bags, take the school bus to the first transition zone, which is where the swim would start. And then we're just chilling for like, I think we had 2 hours when we got to the swim. And so we used this time to check our bikes, make sure our bikes were pumped up, put our water bottles in our bikes, make sure our like wetsuits and everything were looking as we left them the day before. So it was a lot of waiting around. We left our phones at the car because we just didn't really know what situation that was going to be like. So we ended up leaving our phones. So I really wanted to like listen to music, but it is what it is. Next time. And then, yeah, we were just chilling, walking around, going to the bathroom. Like, they had 4 porta potties in this one section, and then the line just started to like really build up. And so we were like, all right, we got to go to the bathroom now, because if we don't, like, this line is just going to get out of control. So we put on our wetsuits, and then now it's kind of time to line up for the swim. And basically how they do it, it's by like waves. So you put yourself in a time zone. So if you're a fast swimmer, you'll put yourself in like the 25 to 27 minute zone to complete the whole swim. I put myself, it went by like 3 or 5 minutes. My roommates put themselves in the, I want to say 37 to 40 minute swim category. I put myself in the 45 to 47. And then they're just people with signs that say like 45, 47. So you line up, you get in your group, and once you're like fully in your wetsuit and swim cap and you're just waiting, there's a lot of standing around because the pro men start and then it's just segmented intervals. So probably standing around for like 40 minutes just waiting to actually get in the water. And I had double swim caps with my goggles, and about like 15 minutes in, my head just started to really hurt because it's like all this compression. And so I'm like, all right, bro, like I can't sit around for 30 more minutes. So I took off my swim cap and my goggles, and I just waited until we got closer to actually starting the swim. And there's like an acclimation zone, which essentially is just a little segment of the lake where you can go in and just acclimate to the water. People say this water was like freezing, like, people talk really bad about this lake because it's so cold. I went in the acclimation zone because I had to piss, and I wasn't like comfortable with just pissing myself in front of everybody or in the crowd, so I went in the acclimation zone to piss, and that water was like not that cold. It was 58 degrees. You have a wetsuit, like, I don't know, it wasn't that cold to me, at least. Once I get to the start of the swim, my roommates were already ahead because they swim faster than I do. It's just like this, inflated arch, and then there are like lanes, and it beeps every 5 seconds, so 3 athletes go every 5 seconds. So it was my time. I stepped up. I had my watch ready to like start the triathlon mode, which I've never really done before. And then it beeped, and I just like pressed it, hopped in the water. And I was really calm in the water at first. And I expected myself to kind of freak out because you get in cold water, there are a bunch of people, you have the nerves. Like, a lot of people panic and have panic attacks, like right when they get in the water, and they kind of forget how to swim, forget how to breathe. But I don't know, it was super smooth for me. I think the buoyancy from the wetsuit really helps. I kind of just glided in, and then the water was like not that intimidating. So yeah, I got off to a really great start. I was kind of just navigating like my sighting because I wasn't sure if I was going straight. Since my ocean swims, my previous ocean swims, I've kind of been, I would like go off track a lot because of the current, but I'd be swimming and then I'd look up, be like, holy crap, I'm going the complete opposite direction. So I was a little bit nervous about my swim path, but there was really no current. And once I realized, like, okay, I'm swimming straight, I don't have to be too concerned with sighting really frequently, I got into a rhythm. Overall, the swim, I didn't think it was too bad, personally. My roommates did not like the swim at all. I didn't think it was that bad. The only thing is that, it's a given when you're swimming with other people that you're going to run into them. So, I'd swim and, like, hit somebody's heel and come to a complete stop. And I would literally pop up and I'd look at it, I'd be like, bro, like, you're ruining my flow. But that's just how it goes with these races. So, yeah, I'm going through the swim. It didn't feel too long. Basically, the way it works is there are buoys on the left side of you, and there's a red buoy when you turn. So you just swim until you get to the red buoy, then you turn, do the same thing. It was kind of like a V. It was like this. So you start here, go up, down, you thread the needle on 2 buoys, go back up, down. Not too complicated. I was a little bit worried that I'd like get lost. Like, that's the shit I think about. Like, you're gonna get lost and disqualify, something like that. But it was fun. It was really fun. It did take me a minute to actually get a fluid swimming motion, just because I was sighting, I was running into people. So I was like, all right, I need to lock in and just like swim like I know how to swim. So that took me a minute to get that. One time this was like in the middle, I wasn't getting bored, but I was like, okay, like I'm just trying to get on this bike. Like, I get it. And I stood up in the middle of the water, in the middle of the lake. It was not that deep of a lake. I'm 6'4", and I'm swimming. I'm like, let me just see where the ground is at, where the bottom of the lake is. And I just stood up. I was like, oh. I like checked my watch. I was like, okay, we're 20 minutes in, halfway there. So that was funny to me because I was like, oh, I could just chill. So I got up, checked my watch, got back to it, swam, nothing crazy. I did see, like, I would peep my head up and I would see people on the like lifeguard kayaks, the lifeguard speedboats, like taking people back with the green caps on. So everybody's wearing green caps, and so somebody got like disqualified or had a panic attack or something. So I'm swimming and I look up and I see people getting boated off. I was like, uh-oh, like, what's going on? But I didn't let that affect me. I knew, like, I'm comfortable in the water. I'm not really scared of non-pool water, so it was fine for me. Ended up finishing the swim at about 46 minutes, which is, it's fine. I think I was estimating like 43, but given running into people and kind of just turning and figuring out where you are, like, it makes sense. I'm not unsatisfied with that. Like, that was a good swim. Got out of the swim. This is when I was really flustered. Getting out of the swim because, you don't have a lot of oxygen and you've been horizontal for 46 minutes in the water. So I get out the swim and I'm so disoriented. I'm running, trying to find like my bag in the transition zone, and I'm just like crazy flustered, right? I'm trying to take off my stuff, like take off my wetsuit. There are people there to help you. But yeah, I was just like really disoriented. I was freezing. I realized how cold my hands and feet were. Not in the water. Like, I was chilling in the water, but I got out and I was like, oh, like my hands are kind of numb. I get out, I get to my bag, I find my bag. I don't know why, but I started sneezing. I had like a sneeze attack. Like I sneezed like 10 times in a row as I'm trying to put my shit on. So that made the transition a little longer, just getting everything on, trying to dry off, because I've never like practiced transitioning before. So that took me 9 minutes, which I would like to get down for the next race. Everything went pretty smooth. Basically, you grab your transition bag after that as you're running to your bike and you throw it in this pile so that they can collect it and bring it down later. But yeah, decent swim, decent transition, got on the bike, and once I got on the bike, I was like, okay, bet. I'm on the bike, I don't have to worry about drowning or any of that stuff. Now I just got 56 miles to bike. Like, this shouldn't be too bad. It's a very fast course, very flat course, so I wasn't too concerned with the bike. The bike was the worst part, and I should have been a little bit more concerned. It wasn't awful, nothing like catastrophic happened, but 20 minutes in, like literally 20 minutes in, my like adductors, like my inner thighs and my glutes just start to like ache. I've gotten this before when I'm biking on the road, and I'm like, oh no, like I can't do this, bro. Like this is not, like it's a very uncomfortable feeling, and I don't really know what it's from, but they just started to ache. My hands started to go numb. My neck started to hurt. Like, you know, all the shit that happens when you bike for 56 miles. But I was experiencing this 20 miles in, or 20 minutes in. So I'm like, fuck, bro. Like, I can't do this for 3 hours. And the road was really bumpy, which also contributed to like my hands kind of going numb. It was really bumpy at times. So I was like kind of just dealing with these aches, the numbness, just trying to like shake out every couple of miles, like stand up and just like, you know, shake my hands out. Or I'd like stand up off my saddle to, I don't know if it was a blood flow thing, but just to get my legs like back to normal, because they would just start to ache really bad. So that lasted for a minute, and then honestly, like 10 miles in, I was reaching for my goo. I had my goos rubber banded to my water bottles because they're like these massive goos. They're 40 grams, and I had 2 on each bottle. And I take one out, and then the other one falls off. I'm like, okay, well that's 40 grams of carbs just like on the road. I'm like, okay, fuck. Well, we barely started the race. It is what it is. Luckily, I had more carbs in my water through carb powder, so I wasn't like under fueled, but I would have liked to have that. And there's also like penalties if you litter. I read that if you intentionally litter and they catch you, you get disqualified. So again, in my head, I'm freaking out. I'm like, bro, like what if they saw me and they thought I intentionally litter and they disqualify me? So I was thinking about that, but I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Stop racing? No, I'm just going to keep going as normal. So yeah, the bike, I mean, there wasn't too much to it. I was just dealing with these pains, and I don't even have aero bars, so I was just going, just biking. Like I was literally just biking, dealing with the pains. Super pretty views. I was trying to appreciate that to like kind of ground me, because I'd be frustrated. I'm like, dude, why do my legs hurt so bad? Like this is such an uncomfortable ride. And I look up and like they were really nice views, so I can't lie. And I would say at about mile, I don't know, 13 or something, I see my friend, my roommate, biking in the opposite direction, like the other way on the loop. I was like, oh, bet. Like, we'd probably turn around at some point here. Like, good to know. Like, I'm sick of being on this bumpy road. I kid you not, it took me an hour to reach the point that he was at. And I'm like, oh, like, he's zooming. Like, he is zooming. And I was looking at my watch. I don't have a bike computer. So I was just looking at my watch for the speed. And I was around like 18, 19 miles an hour. So I was like, holy crap, this kid is zooming. So he was pushing it on the bike. And I didn't realize that until I actually reached that point. I was like, damn, like, I thought I was close to him because he turned around. But no, like, he was way, way far ahead of me. So yeah, go through that. It was just a lot of the same stuff. Just turns, kind of like a bunch of like squares almost. And then the only other interesting part on the bike was the racetrack. So you get spit out into this racetrack, which is really cool to go on. The only thing that I was concerned with is, I don't know why, but I remember one of my roommates saying, oh, you do the racetrack twice. So I did it once, and I was like, do I do this again? Because there was an exit route, and there were arrows pointing to exit the racetrack, but there was also another lane that was feeding back in. So I was like, I was like, okay, look, if I do this again, I could be fucking myself over. But if I skip it, I could also be fucking myself over. So I don't know what to do. But there were just clear arrows. There was nothing that said second lap, make sure you go again. So I just followed the arrows. And I was like, all right, I got to see at the next mile checkpoint. Because they would have signs that would be like, congrats, you reached like mile 40. So I was just making sure that my watch and that sign, the next sign, aligned. And they did. So I was like, all right, I didn't skip an extra lap. That would have been bad. But the bike wasn't anything too special. It kind of just sucked. Like, it was just uncomfortable. I felt good, like energy wise. Like, I really did feel good. Like, I could push myself, but I don't know why. Everything was just hurting, which made it difficult for me to push myself. But I really tried to just stay solid mentally, stay in that like 18 to 20 miles an hour range. You're obviously drinking so many fluids. I pissed myself. Like, I wouldn't say they were like independent pisses, because it's really hard when you're on the bike. But I kind of did it like 5 times. Like, I just like stood up out of my saddle, because I don't know, when your pelvis is on the saddle, it like restricts you from flushing stuff out. So I had to do it. Like, I wasn't going to stop my bike ride. And it was just such a weird feeling. I won't get into too much detail about how it feels to piss yourself on a bike, but it's a weird feeling. But you just get used to it because I'm like, I'm not going to stop, dismount, go to find a porta potty. Like, no. If I was on the run, I'd do that, but not on the bike. So finishing up the bike probably at mile like 55 out of 56, and okay, my camera battery died, so I went and ate breakfast. I kind of forgot what I was saying, but I'm pretty sure I was still talking about the bike. Around the last mile, going back to transition two, I'm like, the ride is pretty much over, and I see this dude like just like slumped on the road, face down, unconscious. Bike was off on the sidewalk. People like running over, and I'm biking by. This is the last mile. I'm like, oh my gosh, this dude he's cooked. Like, I don't know what happened, but it looked pretty serious. And there were a couple times on the bike ride where people would be on the side fixing flats, and yeah, it's definitely a little nerve-wracking just seeing people having issues, because then you get in your head and you're like, am I gonna have an issue? Am I gonna crash? This, that, and that. But I really just tried to stay focused and think about my own ride. So after the bike, transition two was bike to run, and that wasn't too bad. It was pretty seamless to get my bike on the rack, put my shoes on. The only annoying thing is I had to go to the bathroom again. When I got to the porta potty, I remembered that I have to take like pretty much the entire top of my tri-suit off because the zipper only stops here. So I'm like, bro, and it's a really tight fit. So I'm squeezing out of this thing in the porta potty, trying to like go to the bathroom. I don't know. I forgot that it's kind of a process. But then after that, got out to the run. The run was pretty good in the beginning. Like, I was going at like an 8-minute pace, and about 0.44 miles in. I don't know why. I remember the exact. It was 0.44 miles in. The teardrops on my quads both started cramping. I was like, oh no, like I can't do another 12 miles with quad cramps. I mean, I could, but my time would be cooked. So I was like, oh boy, like this is going to be rough. But I think it was just my legs adapting to the run, because after the first like mile, 2 miles, the cramps kind of went away, and I started to drink more water and electrolytes from the people handing them out at the aid stations. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. The run was fine. It's just around a golf course. I would say it's not rolling, but because the incline isn't that much, but it's a lot of up and down just throughout this golf course, and you do it twice. So once I got to mile 6, this is where things got I just got a little concerned, because my stomach started cramping, not in like I have to use the bathroom type of way. It's more of, when you eat food and then you go exercise or you go do something and you get that kind of like, it's not like an ab cramp, but you know what I'm talking about. So it's not a stomach cramp, but it's not an ab cramp. It's just like this like cramping of trying to digest something. So that just made me like hunch over almost, and it was really hard to run, and I had to stop and walk a couple times. So mile 6 and mile 7 were my slowest. I was running like a 9:40 pace because these cramps just would not go away. And again, I felt good. Same with the bike. I felt good. I had good energy, but man, those stomach cramps did not go away. So after mile 6, I was like, I'm not doing any more goos. I didn't know if I should have had more water or not. I don't know if that like contributed to it, but I just wanted to reduce anything going into my system. After mile 7, I was like, okay, my sub 6 goal is probably cooked if I'm running a 9:40 mile, but I don't know how, it just went away. And after like 7.5, I was feeling like good again, and I just kept pushing. And this is when I started to look at my watch, because my goal for this was sub 6. And I started to look at my watch and calculate how fast I would have to run to reach my sub 6 goal. Every time I would calculate it, I realized that I was like literally down to the last wire. Like, I had to run a perfect, I think it was 8:30 pace to reach my sub 6 goal. And I was just like shocked that it was that close. Looking at my watch, looking at how much time had passed and how much time I had left, and then I calculated while I was running, like, what pace does that reach out to, and it was around like 8:30 pace, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I really don't have that much room for error. Like, I gotta be on my shit. I have to be running at a perfect pace. I can't be slowing down, no more stops. And so at mile 8, I was like, okay, no more stops. Like, I have to go. Like, I really have to go if I want to meet my time goal and be sub 6. So at mile 10, like, I'm reaching this pace pretty well. Like, it's not that much of an issue. On mile 10, I catch up to one of my roommates. I didn't really bike with anybody. I didn't run with anybody. I just thought they were all ahead of me. But I caught up to one of my roommates. And for the last 3 miles, from mile 10 to the end of the race, we were running together, side by side, at probably an 8:20 pace. No talking, just like literally the two of us. I always think of like like sort of a military jog. You know how they run like next to each other? That's how it was. Like we were perfectly synced up in our cadence, passing people, just going by, and I just check my watch, make sure I'm on pace, and just keep going. We literally we barely even said a word. We would reach a hill, like a little incline, and we might say something like, "Come on, let's go." But that was it. No talking. And then I was like looking at the time, the overall time for my thing, and I was like, okay, I'll probably make the sub 6 goal. And I mean, yeah, it was really close. Got to the end, started to see where people would turn in to finish. And once I finished, or I was looking at my watch and I was at like 5:58, which I wasn't sure how accurate my watch was with the tracker, just because this was like all on my own. But yeah, I finished, and my official time was like 5:58:55. So 5 hours, 58 minutes, 55 seconds. So I literally had a minute and 5 seconds to spare if I wanted to reach that end goal, which is crazy. Like, you have a 6-hour processor, multiple hours, and it comes down to like a couple minutes if you want to reach a certain goal. So I was super happy with that, honestly. Like that really made the race for me. I wouldn't have been pissed if I didn't make the goal, but like, I don't know, it's a big thing. I really wanted to meet this goal, and I'm glad that it was close and I was able to push myself, and everything really aligned perfectly. So yeah, super fun day. Body wasn't as cooked as I thought it was going to be the next day, because I've done long training sessions before. But yeah, overall, like one of the best days of my life, especially just because I was doing it with my friends, and I had people there supporting me. Like that really made it such a great experience, aside from just like the race itself. The race itself was like, I wouldn't say it's fun. It's something for sure. I don't know if it's fun, but it's intense. And it's cool to like push yourself. But looking back on it, like, yeah, such a fun day. Moving forward, what I have in the works for 2026, Kona 70.3, May 30th. I've already signed up for that. And then also doing that with my friends. Ironman Sacramento, that's definitely a more intimidating goal. That's in October. And I mean, I haven't bought the ticket, but besides that, I'm going to do it. So yeah, I'm super excited for this. I think it's like something I never saw coming, but it's great for me in terms of bonding with my friends and also pushing myself in a different realm than lifting. And I love that training in combination with lifting. I've always said like the endurance stuff is for the mental, because you are literally just enduring long amounts of time suffering, and then the lifting is more for the physical. The appearance, feeling strong, just feeling juice. Like, I don't know, this is more like fun. This is more mental training. So the combination of the two, I don't know if I'll take the name like hybrid athlete. I still think that's kind of like, not corny, but it's corny. I'm just doing what I want to do. That's really all it is. So yeah, I hope this wasn't too long of a video. My battery did die in the middle, so we'll see when I edit this. But I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.